me to start over? I'm Chair Sticks, calling to order the Newcastle Community Activities Commission meeting of August 14th, 2024. The time is 6 p.m. This public meeting is being recorded, broadcast live, and may be reviewed later on the city's YouTube channel. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Would you please show that Commissioner D'Souza is absent and excused? And Jane, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Forsberg.
Here.
Commissioner Van Atta.
Present.
Commissioner Lee.
Present.
Commissioner D'Souza is absent and excused. Commissioner Krutzinger.
Here.
Vice Chair Flash.
I am here.
And Chair Sticks.
I am here too.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any objection to approval of tonight's agenda as presented? If not, please show the final agenda approved as presented. And is there any objection to approval of the minutes from July 10th as presented? No? If not, please show the minutes approved as presented. At this time, we are going to open up the floor if there is any public comment from anyone in the audience. Mayor Clark.
Thank you. Robert Clark from Hazelwood. I just want to, again, thank you all for your efforts. The summer concerts were a really good success. I liked Kim's tribute at the last concert, very nice. And Arts Fair, Ed and Arts Council, great job on that. I don't know that I can afford too many of those though, so maybe we have to schedule that when I'm on vacation next time. So, the 30th anniversary in Newcastle Days, please let myself or the City Council know however we can help to prepare. I know that's coming up, but we are available and we want to be a resource for whatever you need. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Any other public comment? Anybody online? Nope. Okay. Time for commissioner comments and celebrations. Are there any comments and celebrations to share? I'll take that as a no, so we'll go right into our reports. And first report, Events and Recreation Coordinator, Amy.
Good evening, Commissioners. Most of what would be on my report is actually in the agenda, so I only have a few things I'd like to highlight for you this evening, which is why you don't see a written report. First of all, I'd like to thank the community and the commission for the concerts. Particularly, we had some fabulous bands, so thank you to the commissioners who provided input and the bands for being just top-notch professionals. Thank you also to our food vendors and especially AT Productions. They help our concerts run smoothly. They are such a wonderful resource and help. Thank you also to our Public Works maintenance team. And then also for Mayor Clark, Councilmember Burford, and Commissioner Van Atta for doing the introductions. It's a great way to connect with our community and highlight our sponsors, and also thank our Public Works team for the work they do to put into these concerts. I'd like to share with you a couple save the dates. On Thursday, note the day Thursday, September 19th will be the second town hall meeting of the year. It's at Risdon Middle School. So a save the date notice went up on social media today. Please spread the word, particularly because it is a Thursday, not a Tuesday. Another save the date. This is going to come quicker than we know, but folks are always asking about our fall recycling collection event. This fall's event has been scheduled for Saturday, September 28th at Hazelwood Elementary School from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And again, a save the date went up on all of our socials today. We are in the final weeks of Skyhawks summer camps. And just to give you a snapshot of the recreational program we had at our Lake Bourne Park this summer, We had over 270 participants, ages 4 to 12, take camps in golf, tennis, beach volleyball, multi-sport camps, mini hawk camps, which is multi-sport for the littles, basketball, soccer, cheerleading, and flag football. We are gearing up for a fall schedule. This fall, instead of offering one 4-week session or one 5-week session, we are going to offer 2 5-week sessions to try to open up opportunities for different age groups and different days of the week. So we are going to be hosting Skyhawks fall programming at Lake Bourne Park from September 11th through October 19th. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be soccer, tennis, and basketball for 2 age groups. And then we'll have a second session from mid-October to mid-November. And again, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that'll be soccer and flag football. And that will only be 1 age group. We are adding soccer tots for 3 preschooler levels on Saturdays. So we've essentially doubled the programming that we're offering so that we can reach more individuals. And registration will go live very soon, and you'll see that on our socials and in our newsletter. That's it from me.
Thank you, Amy. Let's go through our community reports, and we're going to start with the Historical Society and Chamber. Christian.
Hello. Okay, buckle in. There's a lot of stuff going on. So recently, our police chief, Kajihiro, and city manager Pingle presented at the chamber luncheon. It was well received. It helps strengthen the bridge between the Newcastle business community, the local police, and the city. So I was glad to hear that everybody that I heard from that attended that enjoyed it. There's an upcoming Chamber After Hours event next Thursday, the 22nd, from 1700, that's 5 p.m., to 1900, that's 7 p.m. That is at our Newcastle's own Frosty Barrel. There will be snacks included in the ticket price, which is $5 for chamber members and first-time attendees and $10 for non-members. And there will be a select drink menu available for purchase. Everybody's welcome to come, mix, mingle, and munch. Please register by next Wednesday, August 21st. And there will be a link in the recap and minutes. Also, you can find it on the Newcastle Chamber website. So let's also not forget that the Chamber hosts the Beer and Wine Tent at Newcastle Days, which is Saturday, September 7th. And a big thank you to them for always hosting this. Now, they can't do this without volunteers and sponsors, and you don't have to be a chamber member to participate in either opportunity. It's a great way to meet and interact with tons of your neighbors, in addition to generating exposure and goodwill if you're a business owner. So the deadline to sign up as a sponsor is August 26th. Business sponsorship is only $150 for chamber members and $250 for non-members, and includes benefits such as your logo on the tent banner, logo and name on the table tents, and your logo on the event page of the chamber's website. Day of volunteers are needed to fill shifts between 10 in the morning and 1900, that's 7 p.m. for the following roles: beer and wine pouring. You do have to have a Class 12 mandatory alcohol server training license, which is easily attainable. And the Chamber's website can direct you to a list of course providers. They also need volunteers to check IDs, sell tickets, and set up and take down the tent. So info regarding volunteering and sponsoring can also be found on the Newcastle Chamber website, /Newcastle Days. The monthly 5-chamber breakfast will be held at the Hilton Garden Inn in Issaquah on Friday, September 13th from 7:30 to 9 in the morning. It's a great opportunity to network with members of the business community from chambers in our surrounding area, including Issaquah, Mercer Island, Sammamish, and Snow Valley. Please note that you must register no later than September 6th. Cost is $40 for members and $55 for non-members, and you can register for that on the chamber website. Coming up, so Newcastle Historical Society. I know they had a booth at the art fair, so I hope everybody had a chance to visit their booth. And during Newcastle Days, the Historical Society opens up the cemetery, and they will be hosting a guided tour at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday, September 7th. I encourage everyone to take advantage of the opportunity to view our historic cemetery and learn about the history of this area. The Historical Society will also be setting up a display of historical items, which will be located near the tennis courts? Lower picnic shelter, okay, next to the tennis courts. The history of this area is pretty rich, actually, and Newcastle Days is a wonderful time to learn a little more about what helped shape this place that we call home. Which leads me to say, please consider helping to preserve the rich history of this area by volunteering with the Historical Society. There are many opportunities, including helping maintain and improve the cemetery, as well as cataloging historical items and researching and documenting historical information. You can sign up at Newcastle Days. I spoke to the president of the Historical Society, and he informed me that construction of the development on the Lee property is now officially moving forward. So there will likely be many updates in the coming months regarding the development of the on-site public park that will be home to existing historic structures from Newcastle's coal mining days. And those are my updates from the Chamber and Historical Society.
Take a deep breath. Nice job, Kirsten. Thank you. Allison, Newcastle Trails?
Nothing to report at this time. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Kim, anything going on at Aegis?
Christian ate up all the words, nothing to report.
There's no tape left. Okay. Connie, Newcastle Library and Friends of the Library.
Yeah, so there's always a lot of recurring exciting events at the Newcastle Library, so would encourage anyone who's interested to check out their website. There are events for all ages, families, and individuals. But the event that I'll highlight this evening is taking place on Tuesday, September 3rd from 5 to 7:30 p.m. It is a Lego block party. You can end the summer reading program with a block party. Come to the library for an unstructured creative play open house with Lego and Duplo blocks. You can stay for the entire event or pop in for a few minutes. All ages are welcome, but they ask that ages 8 and younger come with an adult, and no advanced registration is required.
Okay, thank you. And just a reminder, please send me your reports this evening if you would not mind, so I can get them in the packets. Vice Chair Flash, Arts Council.
Yeah, so as usual, we have had a packed schedule and continue to have a packed schedule for the next few months. A couple of events that I want to highlight in the past were a Gretchen Yanover electric cello concert that happened at Lake Bourne Park. It was a beautiful day, and she filled the air with wonderful music. Several people here were at that event and certainly enjoyed that. There were over 100 people that showed up for that. So wonderful showing by the community and a wonderful concert. And then Mayor Clark mentioned the art fair. It gets bigger and better every year. So we had more vendors this year. We had more people show up this year. I want to thank the community for supporting that and for the wonderful group of volunteers that we had that made it a success. We will continue to do that event as we think it's a really great community event and brings the community together. So look forward to that again next year as we plan for that. A couple of upcoming events. We have a creative phone photography event on August 17th at Lake Bourne Park from 6 to 8 o'clock. That's in partnership with the Newcastle Library. We continue to have our film series as Aegis Gardens, so building partnerships with various organizations around Newcastle. We have done the last few months with a list of artists and films around artists. We're switching the focus for the next few months and doing films on elections. So over the next 3 months, we have State of the Union, Wag the Dog, and Dark Money is the 3 films we're going to be showing. Those happen on Saturday nights. And you can check out our website for the date of those showings. They all start at 7 o'clock. This is I think it's the 7th or 8th year that we will be having an art exhibition in September. So we do 2 art exhibitions each year. We do one in March for youth, and we do one in September for adults. So we will be showing the art exhibition at the library during the month of September with a group of around 30 local artists that will have their artwork on display for that. On September 4th, we have the opening night of that, so I would encourage you to come by, and the artists will be there. You can meet the artists. They'll have some of their other creative things that they've created to have on display or to have pictures of, and so you can come and meet them and look at the artwork that's on display, and also vote in our People's Choice competition. And so each year we have a People's Choice competition where you can vote on the best of the show. We reach out to some of the local organizations and businesses in the area to offer up prizes for that competition. So once again, this year, we've been supported by the generosity of our community from that respect. A couple more things. If you visit Lake Bourne Park, you will notice that there is a wonderful new mural. So that mural was created and organized by one of our board members, Stacy Carpine, who is a local artist. And so I want to thank her for that, but also to thank the community because it is made up of plastic bottle tops and jar tops and such, and it couldn't have been done without the support of the community that has over the last few months collected those so we could use in that mural. It is very colorful, so come by. It's near the lower picnic area near the tennis courts. And it's a great addition to the park that replaced the one that we had up there previously that fell apart. So we're hoping that this one will last a few years and people can enjoy it. So please come by and take a look at that. And then our free little art gallery still is outside of City Hall, so please support that. And lastly, we will be at Newcastle Days with an art project. So looking forward to participating in Newcastle Days again this year. And that's my report. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you, Ed. Okay, first thing under general business, we have a guest in the audience, Jake Glasser, who has a presentation for the Wintry Park rename. Jake, take it away.
Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. I'll start just by introducing myself, just giving you a little information about who I am. I'm a rising second year at American University. I'm a policy major, so I kind of geek out on this stuff. Pretty cool to be here in person today. I appreciate all of your responsiveness, and with that, let's get right into it. So just to start out, the proposal today is to rename Wintry Park to Hubble Park. All right, now I'll walk you through the agenda today, just a little bit about what I'm going to talk to you about, how I'm going to talk to you about it, so on and so forth. So the first thing today is I'm going to talk a little bit about the what, then I'm going to talk about the why, how I'm going to propose this to you. The second part then being why this proposal aligns with Resolution 2014-575. And then lastly, I'm just going to recap for you just some big points for you guys to take home for your consideration. Thank you. Yeah. All right, so the first thing is I'm asking you guys today to issue a recommendation to the City Council to rename Wintry Park to Hubble Park. From there, I'm asking the City Council to approve, but obviously that's not what we're doing today. Next part, please. So just to recap a little bit, Section 2 of Resolution 2014-575 basically outlines what I'm expected to do today, and if you guys agree with my interpretation, what you guys would also do today. But essentially, I'm going to be trying to establish parts of Section 1, which you'll see later photographed and I'll talk about, and how those align with my proposal. So with that, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Next slide's good. Thank you. Yeah, so the main thing, the big point for you to take away is Dan has had an extraordinarily distinguished career with the city, serving at the highest levels of office in a 9-year career, in addition to being heavily involved in the park's creation itself. I believe those two are sufficient reasons that constitute a sufficient basis for renaming the park. As you can see there, there's Dan with his 2 children, Sabrina and Devin, pictured on the opening day of the park. All right, now before I get a little bit more into the weeds, I'm just going to quickly recap Resolution 2014-575. I know it had to be dusted off. It hasn't been used in a while. So quick recap. This basically establishes all necessary procedures, all things park renaming. So standards, operations, what comes next, so on and so forth. It's all contained within that document. Don't worry, I've got pictures of all the parts I'm going to be talking about. So if you don't have it, it's okay. I've got you. Next slide, please. All right, so basically, there's 2 main parts I'm going to be talking about today. Now, Section 1 is the area that governs under what circumstances a park can be renamed. For the purposes of my presentation today, you can disregard 1 and 2. I'm only going to be talking about 3 and 4. And now, before we get into the weeds of that, Part 3 is essentially, I'm going to argue that Dan's contributions are so significant to the park that they constitute a historical event in and of themselves, whereas Part 4 is going to focus on his career with the city in general. So just so you guys are all briefed on what to expect next. All right, so let's get into it. This is Dan speaking at the park on its opening day. Now, Part 3 reads, Section 1, Part 3 reads, a historical feature, place, event, or other instance of historical or cultural significance. Now, as I stated earlier, Dan's involvement with this park was so visual and so significant that it constitutes a historical event in and of itself. Now, allow me to explain why. First off, Dan found the earmarked money for this park. It was essentially buried away within the neighborhood and had not been used up until the point of his discovery. From that time on, during that discovery, Dan held a meeting at the Hubble household to essentially solicit feedback from the community, figure out what people wanted to do, what a park may look like, and essentially got the ball rolling. So to those who may be concerned that the park's name is good as it is, my response would essentially be, Dan found the money and got the ball rolling to create this. Next slide, please. Now, one last thing about this park. It's also been a crucial asset to the community. It served as a base of operations for Cindy and Dan Nelson, who ran a daycare out of their home and allowed the children to play there. So a lot of core memories for these children have been created. All right, now focusing on Section 1, Part 4. I'm going to focus specifically about the first sentence, but it's an individual, living or deceased, or a group who has contributed outstanding civic service to the city, who has made significant, or not that part, just that first part. Now, there's a number of things that Dan has done. First and foremost, as I said earlier, he served at the highest levels of this city. Deputy mayor, council member, chair of the planning commission. During his time as the chair of the planning commission, he oversaw a revision of the city's comprehensive plan, which is about 3 years of work on his side of things, and was also the city's youngest elected council member at 30 years old. He's been interested in public service since he was in high school, and it's manifested in the work that he's done. Pictured there is Dan with former Mayor Ben Verone at the opening of Coal Creek Parkway, a certain area of it. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. Another picture of Dan at the opening day there. But the roundabout on May Creek Park Drive in Southeast 84th Street was largely due to Dan circling an area on a map. This was a priority for him in just connecting the neighborhoods in that area to Newcastle services. This is in a conversation I had with Dan. He emphasized that these areas had not much access in the same way. So that is pretty much entirely thanks to him writing a Sharpie on there and getting that work started. Now, in addition to that, he also oversaw Phase 2 of the Coal Creek Parkway Improvement Project, which included facilitating efforts to get $38 million in state and federal money. And next slide, please. That also included local lobbying local individuals to basically just get support to actually make it happen. Beyond that, during Dan's tenure on the city council, there was a construction of the brand new, beautiful library, in addition to a YMCA. And if you don't believe me about Dan's involvement on the Parkway, you're more than welcome to go to the May Creek Bridge plaque and find his name there yourself. So, just to quickly recap, as I said I'd do at the beginning, the first thing I'm asking you guys to do today is issue a recommendation to the City Council to rename Windtree Park to Hubble Park. I'm asking you to do that because per Section 1, Part 3 and 4, I believe I've established sufficient basis to prove that the park is eligible to be renamed. Regarding Part 3, that's because Dan's engagement with the park has been so significant it constitutes a historic event, not to mention the fact that the park has been treasured by locals thanks to his efforts, among many others. And Part 4, concerning his overall distinguished career with the city. So with that, thank you very much, and the floor is open for questions. I'm happy to take anything you got.
Thank you, Jake. Very nicely done.
Thank you. I practiced it a couple times.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Jake?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Just curious, does Dan know that you're proposing this today?
Okay, so I wanted it to be a secret, but it got to the point where like I needed enough information to actually make a good case. So we told him. He does know. He might be watching now. Not sure, but yeah.
Do you mind me asking, how do you know Dan?
Yeah, so I'm close family friends. I've been friends with Devin Hubble since second grade. The inception of this was basically Devin and I were going on a walk, and he's taking me around, saw the park, and it basically came up, and I was like, let's do it. Why don't we name it after your dad? So that's how it began.
When the park was originally named, do you know if Dan had input into the naming of Windtree Park, and if he, at the time, was supportive of that or disappointed?
That's a great question. So first off, one part of your question. As far as I know, no, he wasn't disappointed. I think he was just happy to get it done. In terms of his approval, I can get back to you on that. I have like 15 pages of notes from my interviews with him and others. But to the best of my knowledge, he was good with it, and that was just kind of how it was. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And that leads to my next question, which is, who else did you discuss this proposal with
Yeah.
in the community? And what was the feedback that you got when surfacing this idea?
Yeah, absolutely. So I talked to Dan. I talked to a former neighbor as well, who Kendra, Dan's wife, put me in touch with. And I also talked with former neighbor Ben Verone. Now, Dan obviously was like, sure, go do it if you want. He understands the importance of civics and how important engaging with the local government is. So he hasn't really said much beyond providing me the information I've asked from him. In terms of Ben, he did advise me, there would be objections. Local politics, as I've been briefed, can get testy sometimes. Beyond that, he really didn't have anything specific to say. I think he supports the measure, but I'm not going to speak on his behalf and make that a statement. So I don't know. That's his call. But the main thing was he advised me, look, this is not going to be just done, and advised me there might be some resistance. So I've come psychologically and rhetorically prepared for that.
So I'm clear, you reached out to 2 people in Wintry?
3.
3 people.
There's also former.
And you live in Wintry yourself?
I do not.
You do not?
Nope.
Does your family live in Wintry?
Nope.
No. Where do you live, can I ask?
Yeah, I'm actually from Mercer Island. As I mentioned, I'm a family friend of the Hubbles. I was at the park. I asked him to show me his childhood home. That's where we were. So that's the inception of all this.
Got it. Commissioners, any other questions?
The question that I was going to ask, I think is a repeat. How many people in Wintry have been polled, and what is the result of the polling?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there is a petition that's been released. I don't know exactly how many people specifically from Wintry have signed it, so I don't really know whether the number's accurate or not. I don't believe it is. That number is currently sitting at around 20-ish. I'm happy to send you that petition, but I don't know how many of those individuals are actually from Wintry. I've talked to neighbors, and most people seem to be like, go for it, but we don't really know. Mostly indifferent.
And help me out, of those 20 people, how many are Wintry residents, and how many residents are there in Wintry?
So I'm not exactly sure to either of your question. I just don't know how many people signed it. I don't even know if I have access to that level of information. I'm happy to look them all up for you if you'd like.
Sorry, Jake, so I'm confused about the petition. If you don't have access to it, who's doing the petition for this?
No, sorry. Just to be clear, I have access to the petition. I just don't know whether, I don't have their addresses. Their addresses was not part of the petition. I can reverse name search them, but what I'm trying to say is I only have their first and last names and their emails. So I am happy to go out of the way and create an Excel spreadsheet for you that labels their addresses, but I don't presently have that information.
Yeah, I would be curious to know if of the people that signed the petition, also those that are just Newcastle residents.
Yeah.
So,
Again, I can get that information to you, but I don't have it.
Okay, if there aren't any more questions, thank you, Jake, very much for coming this evening.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Really appreciate
your
it.
time. Dad, for doing the videotaping. Okay. Next on our agenda, we are going to discuss the public park naming policy and procedure. Which just so happens to coincide with Jake's presentation, so our timing is actually very good here. And just frame of reference, we actually reviewed this almost a year to the day. So we thought it was fitting. Sorry, guys, I haven't turned off. Okay. Everybody should have a copy in front of you. I am not going to read this line by line, but what I wanted to review quickly was that September 14th, 2022, the city did enact a resolution, which Jake has referred to come up with a policy which we have a actual procedure for naming parks. In a nutshell, basically what it says is the city, Section 1, the policy of the City of Newcastle to choose names for public parks and park and recreation facilities based upon the site's relationship to any of the following criteria. 1 being neighborhood, geographic, or common usage identification. 2, natural or geological features. 3, a historical feature, place, event, or other instance of historical or cultural significance. And 4th, an individual living or deceased or group who has contributed outstanding civic service to the city, who has made a significant land and or monetary contribution to the park system, and who has made a contribution with naming as a condition of the donation of lands and funds. Section 2 just refers to the fact that the Community Activities Commission will give a written notification to recommendation to City Council to consider, and then City Council has that final decision. I do want to talk about Section 3 quickly, is that a park's interior features and other facilities may have names other than that of the park, so something to be considered. Section 4, a name once adopted should be bestowed with the intention that it will be permanent, and changes are strongly discouraged. Name changes shall be subject to the procedures herein. And then Section 5 is, of course, once council approves it, Public Works will then install the appropriate signage. And that was signed into, I guess, law, February 18th, 2014. So there is our procedures. What I wanted to make sure you, as the commission, if you had any questions, if you felt there was something we needed more clarity on from staff, I wanted to bring that up for discussion.
Section 3 resonates with me, or makes me wonder what interior features or facilities are available at Wind Tree Park. I know most of them, but I don't know that I can name them all.
I'll take that question and bring it to the appropriate staff, but I'm writing it down.
Connie?
Kim, Commissioner Van Atten. I see a picnic shelter, at least in some of these photos, as well as a play structure. So,
Do you know that, yes, there's the picnic structure, or beautiful covered picnic area, great playground, and there's a cool public art feature. So there are multiple things. I'm just wondering if I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Yeah.
I'll confer with Brendan and get that list to you.
I hope it's not a faux pas to mention that we've got some emails about this. And in it, there's been a reference to a rule that doesn't seem like it's a rule because it's not here, that you're supposed to wait 20 years after. Do you know what I'm talking about?
That's a King County legislation.
Oh, okay.
Our policy basically creates a guideline for the city of Newcastle.
Okay, so even though we're in King County, the city rule.
Supersedes it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good clarification. Okay, so we just have one topic to take before staff. Otherwise, the policy.
for further clarification, along the lines with what Connie said, just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, since we have our own adopted resolution regarding park naming, therefore, that supersedes the King County resolution or rules regarding the 20-year wait. And if we didn't have this, then we would be subject to those rules. Is that relatively accurate? City Clerk.
Hi, yeah, relatively yes, but King County has their own park system, and we are our own entity. So that doesn't always mean that because how they want to maintain their parks, just, we have to adopt what they're doing. They're the overall umbrella of, we're all King County, but just because they want something in their park system doesn't mean that that automatically applies to us. They might have rules or regulations that, even if we didn't have this great policy from 2014, doesn't mean that how they name them, just we have to inherit it just because they have it. We are totally separate. That being said, luckily we do have something that speaks to this. There's actually a first resolution that was from 1997. This amended the 1997 resolution. So the city of Newcastle, since almost the inception, has had a process in place because we came to be in 1994. So it's never really come up that we've had to, oh no, we don't have something in place, what happens now? So there you go. There's the history for you.
Thank you for that clarification.
Amy, one more thing for the staff. My wondering would be about just the fiscal impact of change. So I'm thinking, of course signage, what types of navigation, it would need to be changed on our mapping systems that we have internally and externally, like Google Maps and other things, and what would be the cost analysis, or just even naming what all those things are that would need to be changed, if there were a change.
Good question, Kim. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to 8.3, concerts in the park debrief. Vice Chair Flash.
Yeah, so as usual, it's important to reflect on what we've done and discuss any sort of improvements or adjustments. So if we could just do a quick start, stop, continue type exercise around the concerts in the park, that would be great. So we can document it and improve upon things next year. So anything that we want to continue to do.
Continue to have it in the summer when the weather's nice. I didn't go to every single one, but it was just really pleasant each time, so it was really nice. And having as many options for food vendors as is feasible, including from a customer standpoint, customers for them, as well as their ability to serve.
Well, and I know we had a situation at the last concert with one of the food vendors being injured, she couldn't make it, and then one of our other food vendors, they didn't bring their stove, so we literally had one food vendor, and I look up to the stars that they were able to cook enough pizzas for everybody at the park. We had one complaint, poor Connie had to take that complaint, but other than that, I mean, they were making a lot of pizzas, and they were making pizzas till we closed the park. So we lucked out, and the ice machine broke, I guess, midway, but Tasty's fixed it, thank God. Yeah, so it turned out to be a very successful night.
Of all the vendors that had to be under the pressure, I'm happy it was our pizza vendor, because pizza vendors are in high demand and very difficult to book, and I was glad that they had a good experience. It is unfortunate that that happened on the day I was on vacation. However, me being out of town wouldn't have changed the outcome of what happened. But thank you to those for being flexible and jumping in and helping our staff deal with that.
Oh, and the other thing was, when I got up to the food truck, I was paying cash, and then I turned out that they only took credit cards, and I looked around to see if they had a sign and suggested to them that would help for if we do it again with them in the future, and they're only taking credit card, but Commissioner Lee came to my rescue and said, here, use my card. So.
That might be something to consider putting in social media announcements, whether or not, or just advising people to be prepared for any type of payment.
And then one last thing that I noticed at the last concert, when I left, there was parking clear down to Coal Creek Parkway on Southeast 84th, which is in no parking zone. So that was very dangerous. They were on both sides of the street, so if emergency vehicles had tried to get into Olympus, they may have had some difficulty, or it may have been a little tighter than expected. So maybe we can put that on our list for next year to see if we can do a little better job of cordoning off the areas where people can't park.
Yeah, even just having little,
Orange cones.
orange cones, or what are the, I don't know what they're called, the little, look like sandwich sign things that they put up.
A-frames?
Yeah, they look like, maybe that's what they're called. Like I said, I don't know. Like where you see, this street's gonna be closed, kinds of things, just have those going up and down.
Just to be clear, I want to make sure I'm identifying the correct side of the street. We're talking about the side of the street directly in front of your house?
No. So
Okay.
when you come into Olympus from Coal Creek,
Yes.
you're on Southeast 84th. They
Yes.
were parked literally from the entrance to Coal Creek to the park entrance.
I see.
And they clearly says no parking,
Okay,
but
all right,
people were like, concert started, we're gonna park there.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you. The new one.
I think just when one car parks there, others do as well, just kind of following suit. But yeah, something to think about. The other thing I was going to chime in, so we do have some survey results from the feedback we got from community members. I didn't bring it tonight, but I can kind of try and share off the top of my head what I remember seeing.
Would you rather recap it and bring it to September? Or?
I'll do that.
You want to do that?
Never mind. Okay. Little suspense for everyone.
Then we can put it in the
TBD.
packet. Yeah. Ed, were you suggesting that we maybe create a shared file that we could all access to, if we've got individual notes as we're thinking about it, so we're not bombarding Amy with emails, or?
That's a great idea. So I can do that. I'll just add it to the schedule of volunteers that we had. So another tab.
That way we've got a good record of remembering something, you can put it in there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, anything else? Kim?
A couple things. One of the things that I would say to continue to do, as you all heard last week, I found a band at a memorial. So be open to seeking out bands when you're out and about. If you hear something that's great. If we had an Excel spreadsheet, that would be a great place to park those things rather than, I have emailed Amy before when I've heard great stuff, but I know it'd be easy to also just add their information in their website link. So keep your ears out, and I think we should kind of really continue to seek the bands that our audience wants. I'm sure we got some feedback, but I notice when people are dancing and who's out there and who they seem to be connecting with and kind of what's going on. So I think keep looking for that. One of the things I noticed at an Issaquah concert in the park that I went to was an end announcement. And it made ours feel unfinished when the band just stops, thank you, good night. And everybody just kind of starts packing up. And just a brief announcement to say thank you, and if we have a concert the following week, to remind them. And if they're done, to say that too. You wonder how many people are at the park tonight. Because they just assume. So, and that's just another opportunity to thank our sponsors and, the food vendors and everybody else. So something to think about. Another thing that's kind of an interesting thing, and I probably should have said something in my commissioner's comments, I went to the Dog Walker Dog Watch program that Chief Kajihiro held right before the concert. And I know we have talked about that before, so just thinking about, are there things that we could do pre-concert to just get people to the park earlier, or other ways that we'd like to engage with certain audiences or whatever in kind of a smaller scale? That might be an opportunity that we have there to find people.
That's a great suggestion because people do show up early. So keeping them engaged.
I'd like to piggyback on something Kim said with regard to a post-concert announcement. Maybe at that time, of course, I have no idea how many people surveyed or submitted surveys, but that would be possibly a good opportunity to say, hey, check the QR code on one of the posts on your way out. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you'd like. All that kind of thing. So that would be a good opportunity in that wrap-up.
I was in the process of taking the signs down when a neighbor walked over and said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Can I scan it?" So he did it right then and there, so it works. That was a great idea.
Yeah, I was only at the first one, and at the end of the concert, I got lots of people that asked, when is the next one? So to your point about doing a post-concert announcement would be great. Anything else for anyone? We talked about a lot of continuations. Any other feedback? So I'll set up a Excel sheet that people can put their comments in. It'll be on the shared site. So, thanks.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, Amy, Newcastle Days.
Alrighty, we are less than a month away from the big day. In terms of planning, I'm not going to go through I have a big, huge task list for you, but just to highlight a couple of key planning things that are happening right now as we speak that would be important for you to know about. One is the car show, the Cars on the Green Auto Show. Registration is happening through September 5th. It is free if you pre-register. We really want to encourage people to pre-register. It saves volunteer time. It helps us with planning. And so we're really trying to encourage people to pre-register by making it complimentary. The information is on our Facebook page. It was in our newsletter. It is on our website. But there is a short link if you'd like to share with people in case they ask. It is bit.ly, so bit.ly/Newcastle Auto Show. And this system has actually proven to be really effective this year. I'm very pleased with trying it this way. Usually we get maybe a handful of pre-registrations and then most people show up on the day of, and it creates a lot of controlled chaos. But we have 24 pre-registrations already, so this is a really good showing to have that system in place. I'd also like to highlight for you that our stage lineup is set. All the participants, performers have been notified of their times. I have tried to keep it very simple this year by giving each group a half hour or 45 minutes rather than try to puzzle piece it together. We have 3 dance groups performing: Body Language Studio, Blue Dog Dance, and Glow Nation, and Afterglow Fitness are returning. We also have musical performances. We have the Fiddleheads fiddling. We have the Crying Diamonds by popular demand are back. They have 2 gigs that day, so I'm very fortunate that our student rock band from Newport High School is coming back. And we also have a new addition this year. Unfortunately, our taiko drummers were busy. So we are now hosting the Bellevue Ukesters, and they do ukulele music. It's an all-ages ukulele group. So very excited about that. Our community booths are at capacity, and we're in the process of accepting payment and organizing all of that. It does appear that we will go to our wait list as people's plans change. So if you know of a vendor or a business who did not get in, I highly encourage them to reach out to me to get in a wait list application. And in terms of promotions, that's the other thing I wanted to highlight for you tonight. The Newcastle Days banner is in, and we are waiting for the King County bucket truck to put it up this week and take down the concerts banner, and that will kick off all the event promotions. I have 3 questions for the commission tonight that I would like your help on. One, we have the parade, which typically this is around the time we organize it. We do know the disappointing news that both Liberty and Hazen High Schools will be at UW Band Day that day. However, is there a commissioner who would like to work with me to get the parade logistics set up and just be my partner in crime? All right, Commissioner Van Atta. Great. I'll reach out to you. We'll chat about. I have some ideas for how we might have some band music without a band.
I've been thinking about that too. Paul plays guitar. I know. We'll find something.
I did have the benefit of going to Renton River Days. My son performs in the Renton River Days parade and got some ideas where we may be able to have band music without an actual marching band to still make it that festive environment. Thank you, Commissioner Van Atta. I will reach out and we will start that planning. Okay, question number 2, volunteers. Who would like to work with me on volunteers? Okay. I will reach out to you and we can start working on that. If any of the commissioners have any input regarding the parade, volunteers, volunteer shifting, feel free to send that information or speak up tonight, but I will work with those commissioners to try to divide and conquer all the tasks we have left to do. And then finally, Our planning subcommittee, we need to set up a time to meet so that we can lay out our booth map. That's our next big task, and we should probably do that very soon. So if after the meeting we could find a coordinating time, that would be great. Those were my 3 questions to the commission. Are there any questions that you have for me about the planning or plans?
I'm not sure, I shared with some of you at the last concert, but Safeway is going to be making our 30th birthday cake. It's 4 of those big sheets with our 30th anniversary logo on it. So very excited about that. And I did tell Shally that Nathan at Labine at Safeway has agreed to use the buttercream filling. Yes, which she says is much tastier. And then QFC is also going to be donating, again, all the water, coffee, and donuts for the volunteers, which we'll be picking up at 7 a.m. on Saturday.
For the volunteers, I would just say, I've been assigned to volunteer the last several years for the parade. I don't need that. So save your volunteer for another shift unless you just really, yeah.
No parade assistant.
I use my teacher voice.
Thank you. Actually, that's really helpful. So if you have, because many of you were the boots on the ground, and so if you have feedback about where volunteers have been effective, ineffective, how we can best use our resources, absolutely, that's super helpful.
Yeah, I would say in terms of volunteers, big emphasis on the morning and the evening, helping people get packed in and out in a timely and efficient manner.
Are they going to be able to set up the night before again? Okay, I thought that was really helpful.
And one thing Amy and I had talked about with Ed was the fact that we don't have the artists just on the tennis courts. It'll be easier because the flow will be just into the park. So we don't have to like subdivide Ed over there, us over here. We'll all be able to combine our efforts. So
I think that'll really help our sponsors too, having the artists around,
agreed.
so that it's just kind of more natural for people to walk by and talk to them also.
Thank you, Amy. And last thing under general business, update on the 30th anniversary planning. Christian?
Okay, so, in light of the fact that my father recently passed, the 30th anniversary scavenger hunt has been tabled. I have had too much on my plate. If we still feel like it's something we'd like to see happen, are there any other commissioners that would like to take this on, or anyone who wants to sit down with me and nail down the details and create it? It would require a little reimagination at this point.
Well, can I just first of all say, I'm so sorry to hear that. This is the first we've heard of that, and our deepest condolences to you and your family.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with reimagining it. The thing that I was remembering is that we have that coloring book page. I wonder if instead of a scavenger hunt, it might be a little lower effort, but still just as exciting to do we could do like a coloring contest and just have members of the community or kids, turn in the coloring page at Newcastle Days at our booth. And we could, or, something that way. And it's not as much where we need to set up checkpoints or things like that, but just to circulate that a little bit more.
Can you give me the 30-second overview of the idea for the scavenger hunt, its original iteration?
Originally, I was going to see if there were any businesses who wanted to be scavenger hunt-like locations. And also major, just like the historical places in Newcastle, and make up a scavenger hunt list similar to what Amy had done for pumpkins in the park. That was the original grand idea. Uh-huh. And right about the time I was going to really buckle down and like make that happen is, yeah, when things change drastically, we'll put it that way.
And I would be willing to brainstorm ideas, and if it would lessen the burden, we could try not to connect the businesses specifically so that we're not making an ask of them, like, can you have staff that will sign something, or can you? And then that would probably make it lower impact for everybody.
That's exactly the highest impact thing I was running into.
So I'm going to piggyback on Connie's idea. I love this thought of involving kids and the coloring, and maybe we could talk to Vicki at the library, maybe as doing something prior to Newcastle Days, where the public has it, we put them all on display, if the library has room for that. And prior to Newcastle Days, we could have the community go in and look at them, and maybe, I don't know if it's appropriate to vote on, have some awards at Newcastle Days, could be a fun thing. Just a thought.
So a few years ago, we did a coloring contest, and they went up on the windows at the library. So I'm sure that Vicki would be open to that, but we obviously have to ask. I mean, it was, putting together the coloring sheet was in partnership with the library, so I can't speak for her, but I'm sure that she would be willing to do that.
So
Maybe
Kim and Connie, would you guys, after the meeting, want to set aside just like a time in the next few days to take 30 minutes and just discuss these options and then make a decision and an action plan?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Because we know, Connie, you can't sign up for too much here, right? You've got a big occasion coming up in the next couple weeks, so we have to be sensitive to that.
Christian and I can take it.
I wanted to add about the coloring page that Vicki did email me last week to say that they've already gone into second print. So they printed, King County Library is paying for the printing, and they printed 300 initial copies, and that's, a big 11 by 17. And they've just printed another 300. So they've been well received by the community. Thank you for your help with the design on that.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. I love to hear that people are engaging with stuff that we have put out there. So that's great news. Moving on to my next bullet point. We continue to honor community contributors. There's a bunch new in the publishing folder that have numbers and are ready to go, I'm fairly sure. And the outreach and review processes are ongoing. I would like to thank Vice Chair Flash and Commissioner Van Etta for their ongoing work alongside me to keep this moving forward. And thanks to you, Amy, for your time and effort and dedication to this ongoing effort as well. I cannot really express how much ongoing shepherding this takes from many different people. And I'm very, very appreciative of all of the efforts that everyone has put into this. The last thing is we had started talking about official or formal recognition of the city's 30th anniversary. Additional research on my part revealed that for the city's 25th anniversary, King County Councilmember Reagan Dunn had the King County Council make a proclamation honoring Newcastle's 25th anniversary. So my question that I would pose to the commission for discussion is twofold. As a commission, do we want to recommend to the council that they ask the King County Council to do this for our 30th anniversary? Or do we simply want to recommend to the council that they make an exception in this case and make a proclamation celebrating the city's rich history and the 30th anniversary of its incorporation?
My feedback is going to be that we know that the city council decided back in January that they would not be doing proclamations. I, as the chair of the CAC, am not comfortable making a recommendation to council that they make an exception. When we had our 25th anniversary, there was no city proclamation. And my belief is I don't think it is as critical to have an official proclamation to say it's our birthday. We know it's our birthday. If we want council to just make it an agenda item on their upcoming meetings to say it's our 30th anniversary and we've got a lot of great things planned and we'll be celebrating at Newcastle Days, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you for that feedback.
I don't know what the practice would be for if Regan Dunn did it last time. What prompted that to happen? I would be curious to understand. Was that something that was requested of King County? Or did that just spontaneously occur?
Can we ask staff to look into that? Thank you, Amy. Good question, Kim.
I would be interested in, knowing not only how it happened, but what it looked like. If somebody from the city came or went to council, King County Council meeting, or what the deal was, so we could prepare for that.
So right now, there's no prepare for that. I mean, it's here, right?
No, I mean, if somebody, say for instance, on the 25th anniversary, if somebody from Newcastle went to King County Council and spoke, that's basically my question, or witness, yeah.
Christian, anything else?
That's all for me regarding the 30th anniversary.
Thank you. Ed?
Do we want to invite the former mayors to the cake cutting like we did at the 25th? And then also those honorees?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
We
So
should
it's-
have that list somewhere, right?
And as far as stage time, our subcommittee has already been given the task of at 2 o'clock, you have up to 30 minutes for a birthday party, whatever you want to do on stage. That time has been set aside for the 30th celebration from 2 to 2:30. However, the pickleball tournament probably wouldn't mind 10 minutes of that if you're concerned about filling 30 minutes.
And I think it's also a perfect opportunity for us to pay a tribute to Jean Garber.
Yeah.
She was at our 25th anniversary and has since passed, and I think it would be a nice recognition to show our respect for the years of her service and volunteering with the city of Newcastle.
So the intent would be making sure mayors, former mayors, current mayor, and 30th honorees are kind of stage presence. And then recognition, any recognitions. And that's it. That's weird. Yeah, and then we cut the cake. Yeah, yeah. Do we have any budget?
We have the cake and all
Yeah.
the fixings of the cake. Should you want something else, I would need to know
Yeah,
what that is.
let me think on that.
Okay. Jane, do we have any additional comment online? Any additional comment in the audience? No? Okay. Our next CAC meeting is September 11th. In the meantime, we're all excited to get ready for Newcastle Days. Amy, if anything comes up, please don't hesitate to shout out to all of us, and we'll do whatever we can do to help out. Appreciate all your hard work on that. And if there is nothing further, time is 7:05, and we'll call this meeting adjourned.